Welcome back to the Market Makers Podcast. I am your host, Vince Casito.
Hey guys, I'm Vince Casito.
And I'm Lauren Tiers.
And we are your Market Makers. Lauren, what's happening? How are you?
I am great. A little chilly. It's kind of cold outside.
Listen, it's cold. This time of year, it's you get a little bit of a break of the hot summer months, but I can't wait for it to be warm. Does not feel like Florida right now.
No, I need boating weather again.
There you go. Like we got to get out in the boat. We got to go fishing. It is kind of cool in a way around the holidays. It feels like Christmas when it's a little chilly outside. But I moved to Florida for the warm weather. That's one thing I don't miss. I don't miss the snow, none of that. And they say your blood thins out, so I don't know. I don't know if I'm getting older, but I've felt it this week. It's been colder than usual. That's for sure.
It has been colder, but look, we have a super awesome topic this week. Episode 4, it's going to be a great one. So, the art of reinventing yourself.
I like this. This is relatable. We can go so many different ways with this.
Have you ever had a moment that you're just like, I need a whole freaking refresh?
Listen, 4 years ago, last week, probably after a Christmas party, I think you need to reinvent yourself. If you want to level up, if you want to succeed, if you want to accomplish goals, you have to. If you're in the mortgage business, if you're not reinventing yourself, every year or so, you're not going to level up in any way.
No, that's a fact. I mean, look, it's just adulting at this point.
It is. You get in your, early 20s, you got to reinvent yourself and say, hey, you know what? What am I going to do for a living? What's my career going to be? In your 30s, when you turn 30, which is I think an awesome super age. My 30s were amazing.
I loved my 30s.
And we had to kind of switch some things around. And when you're an old guy like me and you're 40, start thinking about other things and retirement and it's crazy. I just had this conversation with a buddy of mine. My oldest kids are the same age, and he was like, "Do you realize that we could be like grandfathers in the next 7 years?" And I was like, "What?
No."
Like, that's freaking crazy. I cannot see myself being a grandpa. I don't know. I'd be the coolest grandpa, though. But
you would be a really cool grandpa.
I would think I would. Let's hope that doesn't happen anytime soon, though. But all right, the art of reinventing yourself. That's cool. Cool.
It is cool. And look, hopefully today, if you're watching, listening in, I hope this gives you a little bit of courage for maybe whatever you're going through. I mean, you can definitely reinvent yourself and move on from whatever you're going through.
Yeah, it's never late to start, whether you're changing careers, whether you want to buy a house, right? Mm-hmm. All the folks that are listening to us on the radio and watching us, on our podcast, you might be in that situation, right, where it's like you've been renting for so long, you're tired of renting, you don't know where to start, and part of reinventing your life is to invest in real estate. We can help you, and there's so many folks in that situation this time of year. You're thinking about your New Year's resolution, whether it's working out, a new career, whatever the case may be. That's exactly what we're talking about, and we're going to talk about some real life examples. And on this show, we're very honest and genuine, and we appreciate the people that watch our podcast and listen to us, because we're talking about some real life stuff that is personal, but it's also tied into what we do for a living, which we mentor so many mortgage professionals and real estate agents here in the city. So we know what you're going through. It's okay.
Yes.
And you got to figure out ways to make your life better always.
1,000%. So have you ever had like that one moment where you're like, this is it, I gotta change things, I can't keep going like this?
Yeah, look, I've had personally, yes, absolutely. I wouldn't be in the situation that I am if I hadn't made some changes in my life. I would say two things. One, working out and living a more healthy lifestyle. 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago, my oldest kid, Adriana, shout out to her. She's tremendous athlete, convinced me to go to F45. If you've never been, it's hardcore.
It's like the toughest gym to go to.
Yes, look, it's 45 minutes of muscle confusion, they call it. And it's it's pretty intense, but my ego, it's my kid, we're in there, she's doing 10 push-ups, I want to do 15 sit-ups, totally kicked my ass. It wasn't fun. I got sick, and I just kept watching the time. I'm like, all right, 10 minutes, I can get through this, but I knew I was going to throw up. And We were leaving. She kept asking questions about joining the gym, talking to
No,
the
you needed like
trainers.
a code word or something.
Yeah, I know. I kept giving her the look, like, please stop, and she did. And ultimately, we walked out of there, and I threw up for like 2 minutes. And
Gross.
it was right then and there, Lauren, that I realized I'm like, look, I'm out of shape. At the
Okay.
time, I was overweight. My eating habits were terrible. Drinking beer is like, liquid bread. It's not
It's
good for
so
you.
bad.
It's so bad for you. But look, since then, I've probably had maybe a handful of beers in the last 5 years.
Okay.
I ended up joining at 45, ended up, going to the gym pretty regularly, completely
Love
changed my
that.
lifestyle, lost some weight, got healthy. It was a great thing that I had to go through to reinvent myself to feel better and just get healthier. So that was my thing, right? Working out. And then, on a personal note, look, I've been married 23 years. There was a point in time where I was like, hey, this isn't for me. And I got separated, and it was a costly,
Okay.
expensive mistake that we both made. I was separated
Yeah.
for, I don't know, call it 90 days. My brother still teases me about it. He said,
Only 90.
yeah, look,
It's
I
pretty
sold a
fast.
house, bought a condo, moved out, reinvented my whole life to very quickly realize that I had made a mistake and, got back together with Nikki and, we're working
Yeah.
things out, but that happens to people, right?
It
So
really does. It's real life.
it
People
is, it
go through
is.
it all the time. Look, marriage is hard.
It is. It's work, and choosing your significant other is probably one of the hardest decisions or your things that you go through in life, right? So,
Yeah.
but as you grow old together, and in my case, 20 something years of being married, things happen, right? And it's sometimes you feel like you're better apart, but then it turns out that you're not, and then you blow a ton of money and make a mistake and get back together, and that's where I'm at on that piece.
Yeah. You know what? I feel like there's so many people out there that have gone through the same thing.
Yeah, yeah, and as we started doing this, and when she emailed me the topic at like 5:30 this morning, I was thinking about what I was gonna say, and I just felt like, look, being honest, I can't imagine I'm the only one that's gotten separated, that's gotten back together. It
Not
happens
at all.
often, but that is part of reinventing yourself and tweaking some things around to level up in life,
Yeah.
and then and in business, which we'll get into in a second. But talk to me about you. All right. When was the time where you said you needed to make some changes in your life and you had to reinvent yourself?
Yeah. So mine actually came like all of a sudden. I was
So not planned.
not planned at all.
Okay.
I was pregnant with my daughter, Blakely,
Okay.
and I was actually like scared shitless. I'm not going to lie.
Okay.
I was a single mom from the very beginning, and I honestly I doubted myself. I didn't know that, I didn't know if I was going to be the mom that I could be or needed to be for her. I didn't know how I was going to cover things financially. It was very scary. I was just terrified to be alone through the whole thing, to be very honest. So I
It's a big
had,
life change,
yeah, no, it was wild. It was terrifying. From that very moment, like honestly, I was just scared to death. And I had her. It was like one of the best moments of my life. And still after that, I was scared. I remember begging my family, like, stay with me, let me spend the night over with her at your house. I had no idea what I was doing. But I had no option to fail. Like there was just nothing else to be done other than to figure it out. And I think there was just like a night where I broke down. She had colic, she never slept, and I was running just like on nothing. And I was like, Lauren, get it together. You can do this. And it was like I was like self-talking myself, like, just, hey, it's just me and you, baby girl, like we got this together, like regardless, we're gonna get through all of this. And at that moment, like it flipped a switch in my head, like, Lauren, you can't fail. I saw on actually our regionals Instagram not long ago, there was a quote. It says, everybody has a sad story, no one
Oh yeah.
cares, just figure it out. And that's what I did. I just figured it out. I learned how to do what I needed to do. Financially, I just worked my ass off. I made the calls I needed to make. I, found a babysitter. Like every single thing. There was just no excuse in life other than to make it all work. And ultimately, that's what ended up leading me down the path to meet you and market makers and everything that we have nowadays. So I mean, it's pretty exciting.
Listen, that's such a great story, and I appreciate you sharing that. That's
Yeah.
a pretty significant moment where you had to make some changes, and failure was not an option. What you said about that quote is so true, right?
Yeah,
Everyone
so
has a
true.
sad story. You gotta life throws so much at you.
Yeah.
You gotta roll with the punches, and sometimes you're forced to make some drastic decisions in life
Hmm.
for the better. Talk to me about Lauren prior to Blakely.
Oh, Lauren Pride of Blakely was crazy.
I bet.
I
I've
was,
heard a couple stories here and there, but
yeah, no, I went out. I had a blast. I went on a ton of vacations. I mean, honestly, it was all about me. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like,
no.
if you're in that phase of your life, so be it. But the real problem with it is I was just okay being okay. I didn't want to reach for the stars and just absolutely blow my goals out of the water. I was not as ambitious as I am now, and I think it's because I was just living for myself. And so if I wanted to do something, I didn't, and that was that.
Yeah, no, look, it's that's having a child changes things around in so many ways.
Yeah.
I'll never forget my dad told me. So my oldest she's 9 years older than my son Vinny,
Okay.
right? So when before Vinny was born, I'll never forget my dad telling me, he's like, I couldn't imagine loving another human being as much as I loved my kid, right?
Yes.
She's my daughter, and 9 years, and but then as soon as Vinny was born, it was like that, I had that same feeling all over again, and it
Mm-hmm.
gives you a little bit of oomph in life where it's like, all right, it's not just me. I gotta support a family. I got things I gotta do,
Yes.
it makes it easier for you to level up and, like you said, start reaching for the stars and changing some things for the better.
Yeah,
So
I mean, that was me. I wanted to show my daughter you can have anything that you want in life as long as you work hard for it.
yeah, no, and that's so true. I mean, look,
Yeah.
we live in the best country on earth. There's so many opportunities. We hear of people in their mid 30s or early 40s switching careers, and that's got to be scary.
Mm-hmm.
But it's okay to take that risk, and if you put in the work, right? I mean, we've talked to a lot of real estate professionals recently
Oh,
that, I just talked to a gentleman right now who's he's been in the car business for 20 plus years. He does
okay.
very, very well, but he's looking for a different lifestyle, right? He's at a point in his life where he doesn't want to work 60 hours a week,
Yes.
and
It's
what
never
greater.
too late to change.
No, and he said, "Look, I'm in that point where I need to reinvent myself, and I've made some decisions in the last 5 years that have led to this point. So, like, help me. How do I make the transition? How do I reinvent myself from this to that?" And
I love that
it
he
was,
has the courage to do that.
yeah, no, listen, it's a tremendous guy. He's going to join our team,
So exciting.
and it was it ties right into what we're talking about, right? He's going to
Mm-hmm.
make a huge change. It's a huge lifestyle change for the better, and I couldn't be happier for him. And a lot of folks that are listening to us or watching our podcast have been there. Hey, listen, that's okay, and yeah, you just got to put in the work and make the decision. Sometimes it's like you just got to decide. You got to set a
You
date
do.
where it's like, whatever it is, I think it's much easier to say, all right, January 1st, December 29th, like, I'm just going to go through with this, and half the battle is getting it started. Once you get it started, it gets a little easier, and then you add some consistency and some discipline, and you can really accomplish your goals.
That is key. So tell me this. Have you had a time where, like, you felt like you had to restart from scratch, just like completely?
Oh yeah, no, look, in our industry, quite often, right? So I would say, well, you're asking me professionally or personally?
Let's go professionally.
All right, professionally, yes, I am a mortgage guy, and I've had to do that so many times in my career.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that you almost need to. You got to evolve. You got to change. You got to embrace technology. You got to.
Mm-hmm.
Our industry, you can look at it so many different ways. I've ran a call center. I did retail. Yeah, I would consider myself today a hybrid originator where I dabble with leads, but I also do retail business.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say 2020 freaked me out tremendously, right? There was a point in time where I
Scary.
managed 40 something originators in the city,
Oh, geez.
and it felt like
It's a lot.
yeah, there was a lot of different personalities, a lot of people that depend on you. And 2020 made me kind of start from scratch, right? I'll never
Mm-hmm.
forget that my corporate office at the time, they said, hey, listen, watch your expenses. There's a global pandemic. We don't know what's going to happen. I was getting ready to, re-sign a 5-year lease on this huge office.
Okay.
And I freaked out. I said, you know what? I'm not going to do that. I'm going to like just see kind of what happens. Got rid of like a 3,500 square foot office, moved into like just one office, literally, that's downtown. And then I told myself, I said, I got to start from scratch. These are, kind of weird times. And, a lot of the folks that were on my team are no longer in the industry. So I decided to focus on my own personal production and just sort of reinvented myself and looked at this business completely different. This is 5 years ago, and it's taking, some time to get to the point where we're at now. But I felt like I had to start from scratch. What was cool about it is within a couple of months, I realized that rates went down to the lowest they've been in the history of America.
Was fun.
So it was a lot of fun. Talk about closing your own personal loans, and a lot of them with low rates. I mean, it was the easiest thing ever. So I think that ultimately helped me make that big change that I needed to make in my career to get to the point where I'm at today.
I love that.
How about you? Talk to me about professionally. When have you had to hit the reset button completely and change things around?
Yeah. So I would say from when I went from a loan officer to being a manager now,
Okay.
it went from being all about me to being all about we. And, now my mindset is completely different. Before I would just put loans in and worry about myself. And now it's like, how many people can I help achieve their goals? And that's what's important. And so now I achieve what I want by helping others, get what they want. And how many LOs can I help, close $1 million in business a month? How many first-time home buyers can I help buy their very first home? How many agents can I help build the relationships that they need to succeed? So it's all a team environment now for me.
That's a big transition, and it's hard,
is.
and everyone kind of wants to manage, but not everyone can, right?
It's hard.
And it's a huge transition, right? And I would say that like even you and I together, we're kind of going through a transition, and we're reinventing ourselves, right? In the sense that we've gotten to a certain point where things are super awesome, right? We've been able to grow, we've been able to scale, we have tremendous people on our team,
Yeah.
right? But now it's like we want to do something that hasn't been done before in Jacksonville, and that's why we've made the relationships and the partnerships that we have, right? And in order to get to the next level in our careers, it's more of rethinking the way business is done, right? And it become, you gotta add some delegating in there.
do.
You gotta, when you're managing people, right? It's tough. It's loan officers, and I'm sure our team will see this episode, but they're like children, and it's like
Yeah.
you gotta help them, and you gotta enable good habits and put things in place that's gonna allow them to succeed. And sometimes we just have to say no, like, you want to do this, but we want you to get there, but there's a better pathway forward, and that's how we kind of coach people up. But I think that together we're in a tremendous opportunity where we
Absolutely.
can go from 0 to 60 fast, right?
Yeah.
We know it, we feel it, it's coming, so that means that, we both have to kind of look in the mirror and say, all right, we gotta change some things around. I think the blessing that we have is the partnerships and the leaders that are within our team, right?
So many good leaders.
Yeah, where they've done it. I had a tremendous conversation with Derek Fertig for about an hour and a half, and which is, I thought it was going to be like a 15-minute call, and he's like, "Are you
Never.
sitting down?" And I was like, "Okay." An hour and a half later, but it was a conversation like really about what we're talking about today.
Okay.
Said, "Hey, I want you to think about growth and scaling in a different way, and procedures, processes, and delegating." And it was really cool, and it made me realize that, hey, this is the perfect time to kind of reinvent what we're doing, to be able to help more families, to be able to grow our team, to be able to help professionals achieve their goals. Because one thing that you and I have in common is that we get a lot of joy from helping others, right? Whether that's a
Yeah.
real estate professional or a mortgage professional, when we help them achieve their goals, like ultimately we're going to achieve ours, and that's
Exactly.
very rewarding thing that is in our industry. But I
Yeah.
like it. So
And every single closing that we go to, somebody's basically reinventing their life, and we get to be part of that, and that is so exciting.
Yeah, no, that's kind of why we do this, and reinventing yourself and your career professionally or your career personally ties into what we do for a living, which is home ownership. Whether you're selling a property, right? So you have a house and your kids are now off to college, and you don't need that 3,000 square foot home, and you're gonna reinvent your life and get that condo on the beach that you've always wanted,
Yeah.
or you're a young family, living in a condo, and now you got a couple of kids and you want the backyard, and you got to reinvent your life and make those changes. And if you are in that situation, we'd love to help you. And all you got to do is call us
Yeah.
904-999-8286. Again, that number is 904-999-8286. But listen, we're almost out of time, but I really enjoyed this topic, Lauren. This was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was fun.
We got a little personal there. Hopefully Nikki doesn't get mad at me. And but we'll see. But all right. So let's talk. Kind of a not crazy question, but good question. What would you
Okay.
tell your younger self if you could go
Ooh.
back in time? What would you tell? Let's say 20-year-old Lauren Tears. What would you tell yourself?
So I would tell myself, don't follow a crowd. Trust your heart and do what you want to do. I ended up actually going to the college that I did. Literally, I was just chasing a guy. And to me, that is so silly, like $50,000 in student loan debt later, not anywhere doing anything close to what I went to school with. But yeah, follow your gut, follow your heart, do what you want to do. Don't follow the crowds.
I love it.
Yeah.
That's so important.
Yeah. And what about you? Like, what would you tell 20-year-old Vince?
Kind of the same thing. Just go, like, follow your gut. Trust your instincts, and then maybe not take things so personal, right? So our industry's tough.
Yes, it is.
It is tough, and I think my younger self took things a little bit. When something would happen in business, I would take it personally. But here I am 20 years later. It's like it wasn't really that big of a deal.
Right.
You got to move on. You got to roll with the punches, and
You can't let it affect
no,
you.
you can't. You can't. I think when you achieve success in our industry, there's a lot of envy because we're in sales. It's normal,
Yeah,
and
it's hard.
I think in my younger self, I would take those things to heart a little bit more than I probably should have. Envy and haters. It comes with the territory. You just got to keep moving forward.
gotta move
And you've
forward.
helped me tremendously with that. So, but shout out to all the haters too. It is
Yeah,
what it
we
is.
love you guys, and we're going to keep going forward.
Yeah, just make sure you subscribe. But all right, so that's a wrap. That's a wrap. But look, we're doing this every week. Guys, we're all over the radio. We're all over social media. We're on Apple Music, Spotify, catch us on YouTube. Please subscribe. And look, if you have questions, you want to start the home buying process, you want to switch careers, you want to just talk to us, right? We had some messages about some folks that want us to interview them.
Yes.
We'd love to have you on here. And all you got to do is call us 904-999-8286. Again, that number is 904-999-8286. I am Vince Casito.
And I'm Lauren Tears.
And we are
Your market makers.